When I was 10 years old, I went from a school where I was bullied, Taft Elementary, to Fletcher Elementary School. And I was a kid on the short bus, you know, and first day of school, I'm on the bus and we go past the mall and we turn onto a street and this girl gets on the bus. She's awkwardly tall, like a beanpole. She's wearing a baby blue sweatshirt, tan corduroy pants, bright red sneakers, and these dark maroon pink glasses that are huge on her face. She has this awkward wedge haircut because her hair is so thick that it just kind of stuck off the back and sides of her head. And she sat down next to me and said, "Hi, my name's Elizabeth." And I said, "Hi, my name's Cindy." We were 10. That was 35 years ago. And this morning, Elizabeth died. My friend for 35 years died this morning. She put up with 35 years of my bullshit, and now she's gone, and it doesn't feel real. We did so many ridiculous things. When we were in elementary school, there were these bleachers out on the grass field. And we would play on the bleachers. We would pretend it was like a big old ship out in the ocean. Or we would do this thing from the old TV show Small Wonder. You know, Vicky, the robot girl. Where if you tap the top of her head, it would shut her off. And so we would shut each other off, pose each other, and then hit the button again to activate the person. And then they would be like, "Why am I posed like this?" We would throw rocks into the ditch at the end of the field sometimes. And sometimes we would make tacos out of these huge leaves with like grass and dirt and stuff and pretend to sell them. And we got in trouble at school for doing that because, oh my god, selling stuff. It was kids being kids. And then I went on to junior high at Cerro Villa Middle School, 7th grade. She wasn't there, but 8th grade she caught up to me, and she'd gotten her haircut into more of a layered look that was way more flattering. And we spent every day together that we could. You know, she would be sick a lot, so she was absent from school a lot, but we would be together at school. And then high school, Villa Park High School, same thing. We, you know, my freshman year she wasn't there, but sophomore year on she was there, and we would hang out at lunch with Parnez and JP and Haley, and we would sit in a circle outside the library and talk. And in gym class, we had gym class at the same time, second period. So we would I would tape the show Babylon 5 because she didn't have cable, she didn't have TBS. That's when it was on. So I would record on a VHS tape and I would take the tape to her and give it to her, and then she would take it home and watch it, and then she would give it back, and I would go home and tape it again, and all the way to the end of the series. And when one character died, I was so upset about it that I had a post-it note saying, Byron, this happened to Byron, and then after high school, she moved away, so we didn't really see each other in person, but we were on the phone all the time. But we would talk about everything, anything and everything, and make fun of each other. And then in 2022, no, 2021, I went to Las Vegas to see her. She'd gotten married like many, many years ago. She sent me an invitation, but I couldn't go because there was no way to get there. But like 10 or so years later, I got to go see her in Las Vegas. And my God, it was like no time had passed. And we just talked as if there had never been an absence between us. We just talked and laughed, and there was the fat pigeon in the stores on Fremont Street. Everywhere we went, that pigeon would show up. So we were chasing it around the store. And then I got us lost on the Las Vegas Strip after proclaiming my impeccable sense of direction. I thought I saw the Bellagio fountain and went completely the wrong way, and it was an hour of us going in circles. And then we finally climbed over a railing to get to a crosswalk and found our way to the fountain. And Elizabeth never let me hear the end of it. Never let me hear the end of that. She was like, Cindy, you have the sense of direction of a potato. God bless her. And then in June last year, she couldn't poop. It started that way and went from that to a radical hysterectomy and chemotherapy and getting pushed into immunotherapy, which we all think that did everything worse instead of making it better. We think it accelerated the cancer rather than helping her body fight it. And it just... So last year in July, I went to Las Vegas again. My sister took me. Both times that I've been there recently, my sister took me. Thank you, Marcy, for that. Um, so, um, God, I went to Vegas again to see her in July. About, that was the last time I got to see her face to face, but she had been, we were going to just hang out at her house, but she was throwing up and very unwell, so we took her to the hospital. And Marcy and I took turns sitting with her in the emergency room because we didn't want to just drop her off and leave her there. That's what she was expecting us to do, but we hung out with her. And it was an all-day ordeal, which, hey, I went to see her, I got to see her, so I didn't care where, when, or how, but I got to see her. And I remember holding her hand when they were drawing blood and giving her shots, and I was holding her hand and walking her to the restroom, and when they were getting a room ready, they took her upstairs and we had to sit in the hall for a while. So I sat at the foot of her gurney and I would tickle her feet every so often and make her go, Cindy, stop it. And I sent her a very risque Godzilla meme. And I'm like, Elizabeth, look at your phone. And she picked it up and she looked at it and she was like, Cindy, you have problems. Like, just, I love to exasperate her and make her go, Cindy. And I was very good at that. I was very good at doing that to her. And not making her mad. It was all in humor. But the look on her face, I laughed for like half an hour. And every time I would giggle, she'd be like, you have problems. You have serious problems, Cindy. There's something wrong with you. But I sat with her at the foot of her gurney at the hospital in the hallway, wait for the room, and this was right before I left Twitter. I left Twitter in November last year, but I tweeted out, sometimes love is waiting with your best friend. And then she got her room, and we sat with her in there for a while and made sure she got something to drink. And then we went in, it was about 10 a.m., and when we left, it was almost 5 p.m. Like, that's how long of a day it was, but it didn't feel that long to me because I was with my friend who I love very much. And we went back and, went back to the casinos and back to our room and everything, and the next morning we went and saw Elizabeth one more time in the hospital, and I got to give her a really big, tight hug and say, I love you, and I'm glad you're my friend. And thank you for putting up with me. And she's like, Cindy, I'd put up with you any day of the week. So, and I love you too. And that was the last time I saw her face to face. And then, we were just in Messenger, in constant contact in Messenger. She was in and out of the hospital, in and out of the hospital. And then she got really sick and she was having ascites, which is the fluid in the belly. And that just kept happening to her. And her sodium levels were dropping, her kidneys started to fail, and she started to become not very coherent. The last messenger message I got from her was March 1st, where she said, she was saying, can't sleep, but maybe later, something to that effect. And I'm like, well, you're sleeping a lot, so maybe you're just maxed out on sleep. And, she was like, ha ha ha. And after that, she started to get kind of incoherent, because when your kidneys fail, that screws up your brain. And so for the next couple weeks, up till today, March 14th, she was just miserable. And I would just send her things like, hey, I love you, and stuff, just in case she picked up her phone, that would be what she saw from me. And then this morning, well, no, last night, she was moved to a hospice facility when it was very clear that this is it. And she probably wasn't even there 8 hours. And, I'm getting all of this from her husband, Jason. So, but she died at 7:06 a.m. And it was peaceful. And sometimes when you're dying, your vocal cords relax and you you make noises because your vocal cords are just so relaxed, but to someone who doesn't know what's happening, it can sound like they're moaning in pain, but she wasn't in pain at all. She was on all the good medicine to make pain not happen. And she was pretty much unconscious. And but the fact that someone could say she was making noises means someone was holding her hand. So she wasn't alone in that moment. And it's probably better that Jason didn't see it because he wouldn't have known, and that would have been very scary. Because dying in real life is not in the movies where they just go. It's it's a process, just like labor and childbirth is a process, and your body can do things, like the death rattle, all the secretions in the throat and the chest. They don't bother the dying person, but it's distressing to hear because it sounds like they're drowning. Or they can gasp like a fish, like, they can do that, or they can, and that's just, that doesn't mean they're suffering. It's just their body's just so relaxed. They can snore because the soft palate is so relaxed. And, they might twitch and convulse a little bit as the oxygen drops. And, like, just things that happen as someone is dying, they're not there for it. They're not aware of it. But someone watching, it can be very distressing. So I'm kind of glad Jason didn't see it. But that was my friend. Her name was Elizabeth, and she was my friend, and I love her. Fuck cancer.